My name is Julie. I'm 25 years old. Today I'm going to talk about the day that my parents didn't invite me to Christmas dinner, due to envy of my younger sister. It's a pleasure to have you here. Stay tuned until the end and tell me which city you're watching from. I want to know how far my story has gone. And click on like, subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss the next stories here on the channel. I was sitting alone in my small apartment when I saw the photo. My sister Claire had just posted it on Facebook. There they were, my parents, Claire, her boyfriend Thomas, and a few others, all sitting around a beautifully decorated Christmas table. The kind of table my mother used to say only looked that nice when the family was together. The caption read, "So grateful for family. Best Christmas yet." My heart sank so quickly I could feel it in my throat. I read the caption 3 times. Then I stared at the picture, trying to understand what I was seeing. The tree behind them was the one from my parents' living room. The food was all the traditional stuff. My mom's ham with honey glaze, her cheesy mashed potatoes, the cranberry sauce she never let anyone else touch. I wasn't there. I wasn't invited. I scrolled through the comments. Gorgeous. Claire, you look amazing. What a beautiful family. No one asked where I was. I sat frozen on the couch, still wearing the sweater I'd bought in case I went to their house later. I hadn't heard anything from them all week, but I thought maybe they'd call last minute like they sometimes did. I'd been telling myself not to take it personally. They're just busy. Maybe they're waiting for Claire to confirm her plans first. But now I knew. They had planned it without me. This wasn't the first time I'd felt like the extra piece that didn't quite fit. Growing up, Claire was always the one everyone looked at. She had that soft, effortless way of making people adore her. Even as a kid, she had a sparkle that seemed to hypnotize my parents. She was the dancer, the honor roll student, the one they showed off at dinner parties. I wasn't trouble. I just wasn't her. I was the quieter one. The one who asked too many questions and didn't wear the dresses mom picked. I remember once, when I was 9, I got a B+ in math and proudly showed my dad. He smiled, then said, "Claire got an A+. Maybe she can help you study next time." It was always like that. Subtle things. Small things. But they added up. And now this. A Christmas dinner where I didn't even get a text. I put my phone face down and sat there for what felt like hours. It was as if I had become invisible. Not just forgotten, but erased. Around 9 p.m., I finally called my mom. I told myself to stay calm. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. She picked up on the second ring. "Julie? Merry Christmas, honey." "Hi, Mom. I saw the picture. The Christmas dinner. I didn't know you were doing something." A pause. Then a nervous laugh. "Oh well, it was just something small. Last minute. We didn't think you'd want to come. You're always so busy, aren't you?" I wasn't busy. I was home all day. Why didn't anyone tell me? "Julie, don't make a scene. It wasn't intentional." Claire was already coming, and then Thomas, and it kind of came together last minute. "You planned the whole meal, the decorations, the outfits. That's not last minute." "Look," she sighed. "This isn't about you. Don't take everything so personally." I hung up. My hands were shaking. It was the same old message. My feelings were too much. I was always too much or not enough. And Claire? Claire could do no wrong. I looked around my apartment. It was quiet. No smells of food, no soft music, no laughter. Just silence. That night, I pulled out my old journals. I hadn't looked at them in years. Flipping through the pages, I found entry after entry where I had tried to make sense of how my family treated me. Notes from birthdays forgotten, holidays skipped, comments that cut too deep. One entry stopped me cold. "Claire got roses today for her recital. I got a pat on the head and you did fine. I wish I mattered as much as she does." I was 14 when I wrote that. Somewhere in me, the little girl who wrote those words was still waiting to be seen. But that night, I stopped waiting. I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, but because the pain was too old to surprise me. It was like a scar I'd been trying to ignore for years, only now it was wide open again. I sat there with my journal open, pen in hand, and I wrote one sentence across the page. "I don't want to beg to be loved anymore." And once I wrote it, something in me settled. A line had been drawn, and I had no idea what would come next. But it would not include chasing a seat at a table where no one noticed I was missing. The days after Christmas felt hollow. Not just quiet, but numb. Like my body was moving through life, but my mind was stuck back in that moment. Sitting alone on my couch, looking at a picture of a family I was no longer part of. It wasn't just about that one dinner. It was about 1,000 other moments that looked just like it. Moments when I felt like a visitor in my own family, like I had to earn my place every time. I stopped texting them. Not out of anger, though I had plenty, but out of self-preservation. There was nothing left to say that wouldn't sound like begging. New Year's came and went. I spent it watching reruns and eating takeout. I didn't cry. I didn't make resolutions. I just kept thinking. If they didn't notice I was missing at Christmas, they wouldn't miss me any other time. But part of me still needed answers. Not from them, at least not yet, but from somewhere. I needed to understand how I had become the one left out. The one they assumed would be fine being forgotten. I started seeing a therapist. Her name was Maria. She was in her 60s, wore thick glasses, and had the kind of voice that made you feel like you were allowed to speak. In our second session, I told her about the Christmas dinner. She didn't flinch, just nodded slowly and said, "Tell me how long you felt like the outsider." The answer came quicker than I expected. "Since I was a kid." "Why do you think that is?" I told her about Claire. About how she was always the golden child. How my parents seemed to bend the world to make her shine. I told her about the comments, the subtle comparisons, the way I always felt like I had to apologize for existing. "Do you believe they love you?" she asked gently. I looked at my hands. "I think they love the version of me that doesn't complain. The quiet one. The one that says thank you for crumbs." She didn't say much after that. Just sat with me in the silence. It was the first time I'd ever said that out loud. That night, I started writing again. Not the kind of writing I did in my journals as a teenager, filled with desperation and confusion. This was different. I was documenting everything, memories, patterns, small slights I used to shrug off. I needed to see it clearly. I made a list. Not a dramatic one, just a quiet list titled, "Things They Said That Made Me Feel Small." Here are a few. "You're so sensitive, Julie. Why can't you just let things go? Claire's just more social than you, that's all. We didn't think you'd want to come. Don't take everything so personally." That list got longer every day. At work, I started noticing how different I was outside of my family. My co-workers liked me. My boss trusted me. I was funny, capable, and even a little bold when I needed to be. It was like I had two versions of myself. The invisible one at home, and the real one everywhere else. Maria said, "Sometimes families create roles and force you into them. You've been stuck in the difficult daughter role for so long. You forgot you're more than that." She was right. I had been carrying guilt for things I never even did. For simply not being Claire. Claire, who still hadn't called. Not even once. One night in February, my phone rang. It was Dad. "Hey, Jules," he said, like everything was normal. "Haven't heard from you in a while. Everything okay?" I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I said, "I'm fine. Just been busy." "Well, your mom was wondering if you'd come by for dinner this weekend. Just something simple." I didn't answer right away. "Julie? You there?" "Yeah. I don't think I can make it." "Why not?" "Because I'm tired of pretending nothing's wrong." Another pause. Longer this time. "You're not still upset about Christmas, are you?" I let out a breath. "I'm upset about a lot more than that. And I'm allowed to be." "Julie, come on. We've always tried our best." "That's the thing, Dad. Your best has always been for Claire. I'm just tired of being the afterthought." He didn't yell. He didn't argue. He just said, "All right. I'll let your mother know." That was it. I sat there, phone in hand, not sure if I felt better or worse. But I knew one thing. I didn't regret it. For the first time, I hadn't swallowed my pain just to keep the peace. I had told the truth. Out loud. And maybe, just maybe, that meant things were starting to change. What would you do if it were you? Tell me in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe and activate the bell to receive all notifications so you don't miss the next story. March came with an odd stillness. No calls. No texts. Not even a forwarded meme from my mom, which used to come like clockwork. At first it stung. Then it just stopped mattering. I had spent so many years monitoring every crumb of affection they threw my way, hoping this time it would be different. And now I was learning how to exist without that hunger. It wasn't easy. There were moments that felt like withdrawal, like I was detoxing from their version of love. But I kept showing up for myself in small ways. I cleaned my apartment. I started meal prepping. I went to yoga, even if I still felt silly doing half the poses. And every week I saw Maria. She never told me what to do. She just kept asking the right questions. What would it look like, she said one day, if you stopped asking your family to see your worth and started acting like you already believe in it? That question followed me everywhere. At work, I volunteered to lead a project I normally would have stayed quiet about. It went well. I got noticed. I started spending time with Nora, a co-worker who had always been friendly but who I'd kept at arm's length. She invited me over for dinner with her friends, and I said yes. I laughed harder that night than I had in months, maybe years. Then one afternoon in early April, I got a text from Claire. Claire, hey, can we talk? I stared at it for a long time. Then I put my phone down. 3 hours later, she called. I let it go to voicemail. She left one. Hey Jules, I know things have been weird. Can we meet? Just us? No pressure. I just feel like we should talk. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to hear her out. Another part wanted to protect the peace I had started building. I brought it to Maria. What do you want from Claire? She asked. I didn't answer right away. Then I said, I want her to admit it. That she saw how they treated me. That she let it happen. And if she doesn't? I shook my head. Then I don't know if I can have her in my life. I eventually agreed to meet. We chose a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory. When I got there, Claire was already sitting, nervously stirring a drink. She looked up and smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Hey, you look good. Hi, I said. I didn't smile back. There was small talk, weather, work, general things. But I didn't come for small talk. She got quiet, then said, I didn't know they didn't invite you. I didn't answer. I assumed you were coming. Mom just said you were busy. I didn't think to ask. I kept looking at her. But I should have. I know I should have. I guess I got used to it too. The way things always revolved around me. And I let it. I never thought about how it felt for you. That's on me. For a moment, my throat closed up. I didn't expect her to say that. You didn't just let it happen, I said. You benefited from it. You got the attention, the praise, the love. And I got crumbs. Claire nodded slowly. I know. I can't go back and fix it. But I'm here now. I want to do better. I want us to be something, if you still want that. I didn't answer right away. I watched her, trying to figure out if she meant it, or if this was another performance. But she looked tired. Honest, maybe for the first time. It's going to take more than coffee, I said. She nodded. I know. I'm willing. I left the cafe unsure of everything except one thing. I had changed. I wasn't looking for Claire to save me. And I didn't need her to validate what I had lived through. But maybe, just maybe, there was room for something new. Not the old version of sisterhood. Something smaller, but real. And I would only keep what felt real now. Everything else could stay in the past. Because I had finally begun to see myself the way I always wanted them to. As someone worth showing up for. Even if I was the only one who showed up. Claire and I didn't become close overnight. In fact, after that coffee shop meeting, we didn't speak again for almost 2 weeks. There was no big fallout, no argument, just space. Necessary space. And in that space, I started to see our dynamic more clearly. She had taken a step toward me. That mattered. But a step isn't a bridge. I was building my own. It was mid-April when my mother called. I saw her name on my phone and let it ring. She left a voicemail, her tone light, like we were still fine. Hi sweetheart, just wondering if you want to come over next weekend. Your dad wants to grill. Claire might be there too. Let me know. Love you. I didn't call back. Instead, I forwarded the message to Maria and scheduled an extra session. It's like they skipped the part where I was hurt. I told her. They just expect me to slide back in, like none of it happened. Maria nodded. Because that's what you've always done. And she was right again. That was the pattern. I got hurt, they ignored it, and eventually I came back, quiet, polite, pretending to be fine. Not this time. I spent that weekend at a small cabin upstate. Just me, a few books, and a box of groceries. It was the first time I had ever chosen solitude over family, and not felt ashamed about it. Back in the city, I got another message. This time from Claire. Claire. I told Mom not to expect you. She didn't take it well. I just thought you should know. That single message meant more than I expected. She wasn't siding with me, not exactly. But she wasn't pretending anymore either. It was something. In May, I started therapy less as a lifeline and more as a mirror. I was no longer just recovering. I was reflecting, rebuilding. I began asking myself different questions. What did I want from a relationship with Claire? What was I willing to tolerate from my parents, if anything? The answers came in pieces. Then came Mother's Day. I didn't send flowers. I didn't call. I didn't even open the text my mom sent that morning. It felt cruel and freeing at the same time. Around 3 p.m., Claire called. She's crying, she said. I stayed quiet. She says she doesn't understand why you're doing this. I nearly laughed. Because she never asked. Not once. Not about how I felt. Not about Christmas. Not about any of it. Claire sighed. I know. I've told her. But Mom's not going to change, Julie. She needs you to come back and play your part. I'm done playing anything. I get it. I do. But it's hard to see her like this. She's been hard to see my whole life. That silenced her. We ended the call with no plan to talk again soon. But that night, I wrote something in my journal I hadn't been able to say out loud. If they really loved me, I wouldn't have had to disappear to feel seen. That sentence sat heavy in my chest for days. A week later, Claire sent me something. It was a photo. From a birthday when we were kids, me turning 10, Claire 8. In the picture, I was blowing out candles, but all the gifts were stacked behind her. Claire. I found this. I never noticed how weird it was until now. I'm sorry. For then. For a lot of things. I stared at the image, my heart aching for that little girl, me, smiling like she didn't notice either. But I had. I always had. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I put the photo on my fridge. Not as a symbol of bitterness, but as a reminder. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't making things up. The neglect was real. The silence was loud. And my healing now was louder. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing love from people who handed it out like it was conditional. I was becoming someone who gave that love to herself. One day at a time. June arrived with quiet warmth, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel the need to explain myself to anyone. I spent more time outside, taking long walks in the early evenings, letting the light stretch a little longer each day. I was still going to therapy, still writing, still giving myself space to feel everything without rushing to fix it. Claire checked in occasionally. Nothing too deep, but enough to keep the thread between us alive. I didn't push her, and she didn't push me. It felt like the right pace. Then one afternoon, I got a call from my dad. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity won. Hey Jules, he said, voice low and oddly cautious. Can we talk? I paused. We are. I mean in person. Your mom's not doing well. My heart didn't race. That surprised me. What do you mean? She's sad. Tired. She's been asking about you every day. I didn't say anything. I waited. We're having dinner next Sunday. Just us. No Claire. She said she wants to see you. Really see you. I didn't answer then. I told him I'd think about it. That night, I brought it to Maria. Do you think she's changed? I asked. Do you need her too? She countered. That question haunted me. I didn't need my mother to become someone else. I just needed her to stop pretending the past didn't happen. I needed her to meet me where I was now, Older, stronger, but still carrying the same wounds. Sunday came. I didn't tell anyone I was going. I got dressed without overthinking it. No makeup, no dramatics. Just me. When I arrived, my dad answered the door. He looked relieved, nervous. "She's in the kitchen." I walked in. My mother turned from the stove, and for a second, she didn't say anything. Then, "Hi, sweetheart." I didn't say it back. She gestured to the table. "I made your favorite. Chicken pot pie." We sat, ate mostly in silence. Halfway through the meal, she set down her fork. "I know you're angry with me." "I'm not angry," I said. "I'm just done pretending." She looked down, then back at me. "I didn't realize how much I hurt you. Not until Claire said something. I didn't think. I thought you were fine. You always acted like you didn't need us." "I learned not to need you," I said. "That's not the same thing." She nodded slowly. "You were always so independent. And Claire, she needed more. That's how I saw it. I see now I was wrong. I should have looked harder." I wanted to believe her. I wasn't sure I could. "You don't have to forgive me today," she said. "Or ever." I needed to say it. The rest of the evening was quiet. Not awkward, not warm, just quiet. But when I left, I didn't feel hollow. I didn't feel invisible. The next day, I wrote in my journal. Maybe I can't rewrite the story, but I can stop handing them the pen. That week, I hosted a small dinner at my place. Nora came, along with 2 other friends from work. I cooked everything myself. Simple dishes, nothing fancy, but it felt sacred in a way. After dessert, Nora leaned over and said, "You seem different lately. Happier." I smiled. I think I finally stopped waiting to be chosen. She squeezed my hand. "Good. Because you were never second choice." And for the first time, I believed her. Not because someone finally said the right thing, but because I'd said it to myself first. Summer slipped in quietly, the kind of soft warmth that doesn't demand attention, but changes everything anyway. I found myself smiling more. Not big, showy smiles, but the kind that start in your chest and work their way up when you realize you're not just surviving anymore. You're actually living. Work got busier. I got a raise. A small one, but one I was proud of. I finally framed some art for my walls. Made weekend plans without waiting to see if my family would call. Most weekends they didn't. And I stopped checking. Claire texted once in July. "Thinking of you," she wrote. I replied, "Thanks." No follow-up. That was okay. I didn't need more. Then in August I got a letter. It was from my mom. Handwritten. The envelope said simply, "Julie." Inside, the letter was short. "I know I can't undo the years I spent looking past you. I can't ask you to forget what I failed to see. But I want you to know I see it now. I see you. And I'm sorry. Love. Mom." I didn't cry. But I sat with that letter for a long time. Reread it twice. Then placed it in my desk drawer. Not on display. Not tossed away. Just there. Like the beginning of something or the respectful end of something else. I wasn't sure which yet. By September, I felt steady. Not healed entirely, but clear. The fog that had followed me my whole life, of never being enough, of being too much, was lifting. I walked differently, talked differently, looked people in the eye when I spoke. One afternoon, Nora and I were having coffee when she asked, "Are you ever going to go back?" "Back where?" I said. "To them. To how it was." I stirred my drink. "No. But maybe I'll visit. Sometimes. With boundaries." "Good," she said. "You don't owe anyone your peace." And I didn't. I had learned that the hard way. Late that fall, Claire invited me to a small family dinner. Just her fiancé, and a couple friends. No parents. No expectations. I said yes. I went. And it was nice. She asked about my job, my life. She listened. I didn't talk about the past. She didn't push. It wasn't a fairy tale reunion. But it wasn't fake either. After dinner, she walked me to the door. "I'm glad you came," she said. "I am too." She looked at me like she wanted to say more, then stopped herself. That was okay. As I left, I didn't feel heavy or nervous. I didn't feel like a child again. I felt like myself. That was the real ending. Not some perfect scene. Not some grand apology. Just me, walking out the door whole. And finally, I knew. I was never really the second choice. They just didn't know how to love someone who wouldn't shrink. And I had finally decided I never would again. If you like stories like these, click like, subscribe, activate the bell and send it to someone you think will also like it.